early game and grouping together fantastically for some mid-game mechanics. Great flanks coming up from Ale, great engages coming up from Iwandi, and of course light mechanical god on that vein. Now going into game 2, a very quick Viego pick coming up from LNG, followed by the Lucian and the Diana for the side of Suning. Of course, this is most likely a jungle Diana followed by what looks to be a mid lane Lucian. Could potentially as well be a top lane Lucian. That is not something we have seen from Bin before, but being a pro player, he can definitely whip it out. As for Angel, mid lane Lucian is something he's only played once in the regular split, and LNG now deciding if you don't want the Ziggs, we will take it along with an engaged support. Interestingly enough, not opting for the Trundle. Right now, we got a lot of team fight and long range abilities coming up from LNG. Meanwhile, on the side of Suning, we have quite a bit of dive. This looks to most definitely be a mid lane Lucian at this point in time when with the Kai'Sa hover. Interestingly enough, no Varus or Vayne coming out from the side of Suning with Huan Feng. Ezreal is still available. Of course, that champion has fallen slightly out of favor due to the nerfs. And now looking into the ban phase, there are still solo laners to be picked on the side of LNG, while there's of course a top laner and support on the side of Suning with a LeBlanc ban coming out. Icon wasn't really huge on the pick. He did cause a bit of trouble towards the end. However, for the most part, he just got picked off quite a lot, and it was really the rest of his team that carried him forward. On side of LNG, let's see what they look to ban here. Top lane and support, they could look to ban out the Nautilus. Nautilus, of course, might lose lane to Leona, but of course does very well in the mid to late game, looking for picks as well. But it looks like they opt for the Rel instead. There is, of course, still the Alistar, the Galio, if we're really trying to dig deep. Of course, the Thresh is available as well. The Thresh Kai'Sa isn't really something you'd expect. On the side of Suning, let's see what they can look to ban here, as the Rise is still up and available. Silas, although I don't think it's really a counter pick to Lucian. Icon really has a champion Ocean to choose from. Syndra is doing pretty well too after the rebuffs, or more like the reinstating of his mana cost, as Kennen now is the ban taken out from the side of Suning. Ale was quite deadly, able to sustain very well in the lane, able to play the lane out very well, and then eventually just contribute to team fights as LNG now just targeting the remaining dive composition coming out from Suning, taking out the Rakan, taking a bit of that team fight away. Now Suning had pretty much committed to a full-on team fighting composition. The set really adds into the diving composition. The set really adds into that. The Nautilus, of course, is still up and available. Zac would be an interesting pick here. Not quite sure where this Zac pick would go, and it is locked in. I do not think this has been up in the top lane with the Zac, because of course Bin doesn't really play tanks, or when he does, Suning doesn't really do very well. On the side of LNG now, there is still a mid laner and probably a top laner available. They could of course put the Viego up towards the top lane or the mid lane, so this is a super flex Viego. Volibear here speaks to me of being a jungler. Viego of course, Volibear of course is a very exceptionally strong jungler, and when the Xin Zhao is out, when the Lee Sin is out, you can opt for that. It's interesting that they didn't opt to go for the Graves or even the Trundle here on the side of LNG, because that's also a phenomenal pick. Trundle, of course, goes really well with the Ziggs, but looks like they're hovering the Rise. This is Icon's most played champion in the regular split. Syndra, of course, like we mentioned previously, due to the recent they rolled back on the nerfs, so it's not really a buff, it's just a reinstating of her place, and she's such a meta-defining champion as she is locked in here. On the side of Suning, it looks like Bin is going to be up against a Viego up in the top lane, so out of Bin's champion pool, who can we expect? Well, for starters, the Gwen is still available, as is the Camille, as is the Jace. Akali also a choice, and of course the World Championship pick of Jax is still available for Suning's star top laner, as is the Fiora. Really, he can go anywhere here. I personally would like to see, I think the Akali isn't bad, it really adds to the dive composition, as I would like to see the Jax. That's exactly what I wanted to say. And the surprisingly, the Zac support actually provides a very nice bit of engage down in that support role, although I do admit that I think a Nautilus would have done exactly the same thing, but I suppose Zac provides a ton of CC for the Kai'Sa to choose from when it comes to using her ultimate to get access to the backlines. Looking at both of these compositions right now, mid lane is quite even, but push will ever be so slightly in favor of Angel being the AD champion. Right now, Tarzan is significantly stronger than SOFM in the early game, which means mid-jungle 2v2 is kind of more towards the side of LNG. On the top side, Suning is probably... Jax in the top side, Bin is probably going to be hyper aggressive with that Jax. That's exactly what we know him for, and that's probably where a lot of the jungle focus is going to be. It's going to be between these two players of Ale, the insertion to the team that has allowed LNG to come from the bottom, from nowhere, up to where they are now. Now they're quite far away from the finals, but the fact remains they are here. They've made it through the grueling round robin 17 team play a regular season that has led them to this point in time. They are in contention to go all the way. Now let's see if they can do it. They've already won game 1 with some fantastic team fighting. Mid to late game is really the space where LNG thrives, which means Suning, will they be able to pull together as a team to take out LNG in the early game? It's all about building a lead for Suning right now, and that lead, you can either build it towards bot side or top side, of course mid lane as well, but really the main carry always does seem to be Bin, and then kind of followed by Huanfeng, followed by Angel, I guess. Huanfeng tends to play like a very good secondary carry, but not really the primary carry situation. But going back into this specific game, let's see what's going to happen here. The Kai'Sa Zac, I'm not sure what the kill potential is for that lane, but against a Ziggs and a Leona, I'd imagine it is not too strong. Regardless, this is the LPL. There is a chance we can see some very active plays coming out in the bot lane, but for the large part, I expect most of the action to occur towards the top side. That's just a guess, of course, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see how it actually unfolds, as already in the top side, Ali and Tarzan just camping the bush up in the river, waiting to see if Bin would like to step up. So Bin, the way he liked to play the Jax into the Renekton matchup in the World Championships is that he kept his passive up, but as a result of keeping his passive up, he constantly pushed the wave, which means he really is leaving himself open to a gank. But that being said, he does have the counter strike to be able to parry the Volibear Q, but at the same time Tarzan can backstep, allow Bin to trigger the stun, and then have an empowered Q to come forward with the stun, giving him even more movement speed. So there's a lot of counterplay potential coming out here between Ale, Tarzan, and Bin. SOFM, in the meantime, we just expect him to really play towards farming and not so much towards ganking until he hits level 6. Both junglers starting towards bot side with equal leashes as to be expected, and in the top side is exactly what we're talking about. Bin jumping right onto Ale with that counter strike. He doesn't really have his passive stacked up, but that doesn't seem to be too much of a bother for him. But Ale, being a resourceless champion with quite a bit of innate sustain with the Blade of the Ruin King ability, is able to just trade very efficiently. Bin only getting one auto attack off and the stun, not able to dodge away from the Q. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, it looks like Icon is able to stabilize the wave for now, but in comes the piercing light, and Angel is inevitably going to get that push. It is kind of unstoppable. But already, look, a 3 camp clear coming out from Tarzan, having finished his Raptors, moving up towards his Grump right now. Bin is walking down towards the river, but luckily Tarzan is not rotating. Ale able to chase him out of the situation. Bot side, it looks like the priority is in favor of Huanfeng and On. Slightly surprising, I suppose, but Light doesn't want to be spamming his abilities too much out onto the wave. As in this top side, the reason that we're watching this so much is this is really the battleground. This isn't a hyper volatile lane, but the thing is, Jax, when Jax is in the equation, it's always about volatility. Jax can scale, so it's always about the opponent trying to shut down the Jax. And of course, if you get Jax too far behind, you can dive him and all that good jazz. As Ale now and Bin just trading aggressively. Bin looks like he's out of abilities. He's gotten the better part of that trade, stepping forward aggressively. Teleport is used towards the mid lane. That is Angel's teleport. Looks like he really just wants to be in lane and try to lane lock Icon as best as he can. That being said, Icon will inevitably have those pockets of time where he can teleport up towards the top side. Maybe a roam might not be possible, as I'm not sure if Tarzan was spotted out on that ward, but whether he chooses to go up or into the mid lane, he's going to be spotted out nonetheless, as Ale is skirting the edges of the counter strike. SOFM has made his way up towards this area already. Tarzan looks like he might make his way up as well, but like I said, there is a ward. Actually, the river ward towards mid lane has expired, so I don't think they know that Tarzan is now making his way up towards the tri-bush. But both the jungler and top laner of Suning are backing off. On has made his way up to his top side. Ali is forced to flash away from the counter strike. SOFM's position has been made known. Now Tarzan is in the area as well. They're trying to shove this wave in. In comes teleport from Icon in the mid lane as Bin gets stunned immediately by the Spectral Moth. Sun Flash coming out from Tarzan as Bin immediately falls. SOFM now is going to be left to dry. Let's see who manages to get this kill. SOFM does have flash. Don't think he will use it as he actually gets to the wall. It's 1 HP. Who will finish him off as a fail flash coming out from Icon. Jump over the wall from Ale. Will have the Spectral Moth too close. a gap, but the thunder was coming down as well. Bin teleporting himself into a very unfortunate position. Actually takes no damage with the counter-strike, as Icon, a rather unfortunate failed flash, and although they do get 2 kills, Bin was able to teleport back. The wave is going to be shoved in towards him for the bounce, and a nice teleport from Ale towards the mid lane means LNG overall will not lose too much. They did lose a little bit because a bit like half of the wave did manage to crash in the mid lane. But already in the mid lane, Ale trading aggressively into Angel. If he had the Heartbreaker there, I think he would have gone all in for that champion. And in the top side, Icon looks like he's quickly running low on mana while Bin is still full of his stats. So nice play coming out here, kind of to be expected from LNG, just playing heavily towards the top side, towards the main battleground. Now that Iwandi is making his first recall, we might see him unlocked out onto the map as Ale, nice flash here, just really biding his time as best as possible, waiting for Icon. You see Icon just left vision, he's channeling his teleport right now, coming in with lack of resources, honestly. Very nice chain CC coming out here from the members of LNG. I'm not sure if Counter-Strike was even off of cooldown, but if it was, he might not even have had the time to get it, as it looks like each member of LNG was trying to give it to each other. Unfortunate yet again, but Ale does manage to pick this up, and a fed Viego is pretty good, although one can say that fed Viego does tend to leave his body and pick up the unfed members of the opponent's team, as Iwandi, having completed his recall, has roamed up to provide some assistance. It looks like Bin might be in a bit of a troubling spot. He gets hit up by the Spectrum Wall. In comes the Zenith Blade and the Exhaust, as well as the Shield of Daybreak. Bin finally channeling his Counter-Strike, does manage to get to the wall where SOFM is waiting for him. He did have the Leap Strike available and could have jumped out. So nice rotation coming out there from Iwandi. Quite greedy plays coming out there from Bin. Of course, we are able to see everything as SOFM on are in position. This could be a 3v2, but Tarzan is moving up now. Both the mid laners are still stuck as Ale is ignited up, is stunned up, is jumped onto by the members of Suning up in this top side, but teleport is coming in. There is Light, there is the Ziggs, one nice bomb coming out, but the Moonfall lands. Light is taken incredibly low, 1/3 HP, but no follow-up was available by SOFM. And on at level 5 in the bot side, LNG are losing nothing as Huanfeng now only is beginning to push the wave away from his own tower. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to rotate someone down in order to pick up at least the next wave. They might lose 5 CS, but Light does pick himself up a kill from that exchange. Bin, is he going to crack under the pressure? Of course, of course, you might be wondering how he even got ganked in that situation. But of course, the control ward did wipe out the vision, and Tarzan with no flash is not exactly a threat to Angel as he paths down towards his bot side to begin clearing out his camps continually. Now we take a quick second to look at the gold. Bin, is to be expected with the constant attention thrown his way, is about 600 gold down, nearly 700 gold. Meanwhile, across the board, it is pretty even, which means that the only bit of advantage we see over there, 11.4k gold in favor of LNG, is actually coming from that top side and is kind of being equalized through the jungle, as SOFM has managed to pick himself up a kill as well as stay ahead ever so slightly in terms of his CS. And see the 3v2 coming here. Ali, unfortunately, being ignited up, was not able to sustain through it all. SOFM actually turning 6 halfway in through that fight. As down goes the cannon minion, he now turns level 6 as Bin falls a 3-man Moonfall. Chunks Iwandi and Light to the brink of death within an inch of their mortal lives. Now, Rift Herald is going to be spawning in about 10 seconds time. Dragon seems to be of no interest to either team because scaling isn't really the name of the game here. Suning just want to get to the mid game, power spike point 2 to 3 items and just sprint it down onto LNG, who in turn want to get some nice poke and eventually win the team fight after softening up Suning a little bit. So both team comps kind of working well into each other. But last, I would say Suning do have a slight bit of an advantage. That is, of course, if they don't manage to get a bit too far behind. As SOFM stepping away from the Zenith Blade very nicely, but gets stunned over the wall by the Spectrum Wall. SOFM trading places with him as Ale goes over the wall, trying to flash over into him, but he is put up into his cell division. And it looks like Suning are just falling apart to the combined pressure coming out here from LNG, as Huanfeng jumping in aggressively with the killer instinct and forced to flash away, trying to get the Iwandi kill. So elusive is he, surviving with just a shred of his HP up towards the top side, surviving within just an inch of his life up towards this mid lane, baiting out the ultimate, baiting out the flash. Has been in this top side, at least he's managed to pick himself up some alone time with the wave, although Ale himself will not lose any CS whatsoever with some good rotations. Ale is already 4-1. The goal lead between the two has ballooned to 1.2k, an additional 500 gold on top of what it previously was. If Rift Herald is still out on the map, SOFM, very nice sidestep here with the Zenith Blade, but unfortunately the Spectral Maul from over the wall was not really something he could do anything about, as On jumps in to try and peel for him, but Ale just picks up SOFM and turns on to On. That Zac support, I mean, it hasn't really been lousy, but it hasn't done particularly too much. Iwandi, on the meantime, has gotten a very nice gank off. And one must wonder, if that was a Nautilus, would it have been better? Not in that specific situation, but leading up to this point in time, would a Nautilus have been able to do more? Well, that is going to be the question that lingers in the air, as SOFM now is clearing out this ward. Teleport is coming in. That is Icon. But in the supports wise, On has rotated up first, is only level 5, as is Iwandi, so no ultimates available for the supports. Meanwhile, on the top side, Bin is still pushing. Doesn't look like SN are trying to contest for this. In fact, Angel is still in the base, and meanwhile, Huanfeng is still down towards bot side. This is quite a suicidal contest. It's a 3v4 situation. I'll be surprised if they even look this way. And it looks like Suning were just poking and prodding to see if they could try and get LNG to run away. But LNG stealing themselves in the moments of uncertainty and just finishing it off for sure, which leaves Dragon as the only neutral objective available. Both teams really aren't the early game-esque kind of focus compositions, so there will most likely not be too much of an emphasis away on stealing away blue buff and red buff from the mid laners, although, I mean, yeah, especially in this situation, given the Syndra mana rollbacks and all that, it really isn't like a prerogative. It's not like you weaken Icon significantly by taking away the blue buff, as Dragon now is started out. LNG's strongest player is in the top side, does have teleport, so he can still participate in this fight, but with Tarzan and Iwandi coming out holding hands from the base so far away from the Dragon as it falls, it looks like LNG will give this up without a contest, really probably not batting an eyelid at the Dragon falling. LNG's support and jungle duo are just trying to clear out the vision as much as possible. Tarzan nearly missing that ward, because Iwandi, I think, walked out of position for that, but it looks like SOFM does have a nice flank set up now, playing heavily towards the bot side. Bin does have teleport, as does Ale, as out down in the bot side. On is just engaged upon, and a Scatter the Weak comes through. SOFM in the midst of 3 uses his ultimate, but the exhaust coming out, meaning he does 0 damage as Tarzan now is on the chase, flashes onto him. Bin teleporting him into the midst of 3. Iwandi using his stopwatch, being able to just deny the members of Suning yet again, as a Scatter the Weak now tags out onto Angel. Angel needs to be careful. No flash available on Tarzan. Middle side, Tarzan isn't even going to use it, using the Stormbringer over the wall, following up as Ale comes in to take the kill away yet again. 5-1 now is the top laner from LNG. The man who was brought in to bring this team the distance is actually doing it, but of course it is not by any means a individual effort, as the entire team is playing around fantastically. Rift Herald is dropped, as is the Satchel Charge, and very quickly mid lane tower goes the way of LNG. First tower secured by the combined efforts. Meanwhile, Huanfeng in his bot side is trying to get himself a little bit back, trying to take away from LNG, as well as a bit of the minions do end up dying, but for the most part, Light has come down and will be able to soak up most of the XP and gold. Meanwhile, Ale is doing the exact same, so overall Suning are falling behind. And with LNG's propensity for mid-game team fighting, is this the end for Suning? That really has to be the question here. Is On just caught so far out of position, and Iwandi and Tarzan showing the power of grouping up with your jungler to clear vision, and this beautiful exhaust coming down by Iwandi playing out of his mind. SOFM had a huge ultimate there, but ultimately it did negligible amounts of damage because, of course, of the exhaust coming down, and Angel realizing at this point that he is in a mighty bit of danger. Unfortunately, he gets stunned up right after the flash goes on. Tarzan actually quote-unquote range stunning him with the Q. And right now, things are looking pretty grim. So, on side of Suning, let's see. 5,000 gold behind. Let's see what their hopes are, what their their beacon, their ray of light is. And at this point in time, I must say, at best, it is looking like SOFM with his ultimates. Bin looks like he's been taken out of the picture. Perhaps he can be a huge split push threat and try and draw away as many members of LNG as possible. But chances are LNG will just collapse onto him, pick him off, and then look for a 5v4 team fight. And they definitely have the engage for that. The Stormbringer and the Volibear running in with the Q. Iwandi with the Solar Flare. Dragon is spawning in 2 minutes time, but it looks like LNG are expressing interest in taking this bot lane tower. Just walking together, the jungler and mid laner now of LNG, taking away as much vision as possible in the bottom side of Suning's own junglers. SOFM now looks like he wants to jump in onto Ali. This is quite risky though, even though the smite goes down, tons of damage coming out as the Spectrum Maul lands onto SOFM. Ali does have the Heartbreaker as ultimate does come down. SOFM is taken out amidst 4 people. Ali eventually does fall now. Great trade as Icons forced to flash away, does manage to get away from the counter-strike, but in comes the Culling to take him out. Eventually, as Bin flashes in, does not manage to get the last kill, and Light does jump in. In goes the Stormbringer from Tarzan, and it looks like Suning are falling to pieces before our very eyes. LNG dismantling them with utter finesse. Will this kill be left for Light? And it looks like it will. One bouncing grenade in later, a bunch of conical flasks break out onto the floor, and LNG gift their AD carry a kill. An unbelievable play. Ale just jumping into a 1v4 situation, picking up a kill for himself, and although he eventually falls, the rest of LNG does pick up the slack where he left off, and really things are looking quite grim here for Suning in this game too, and overall in the series in general. Going into a game 3 0-2 is not really a position you want to be in, as look, SOFM kind of suicidal, I think, jumping in onto Ale in this situation. The man is an absolute dueling machine, and look at him amidst 4 people, utter focus, using his passive to dodge out on the elastic slingshot, and ultimately though no one was low enough for him to be able to get some more damage on an Icon. Just absolute luck coming out here. I think it's the Solar Flare, the stun coming out from Tarzan fall by the Solar Flare actually denies him the auto attack, but in the bottom left hand side, it looks like again Icon's gonna get away with just a sliver of HP, and this time Suning again we're not able to pick up a kill. Iwandi has survived 3 times, Icon twice. This could be a 12-7 game, but things just aren't going the way of Suning on some luck level, on some just favor and fortune level. On just an unfortunate situation, it just isn't going the way of Suning as Icon. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Ale is actually being beaten. Bin is so far down in terms of levels and experience. How is this happening? As okay, maybe not an experience, and Ale does eventually win that fight, but Bin trying to kill a 6-2 at the time, I suppose. But meanwhile, on the top side, Iwandi is stepping up aggressively. Angel with his positioning due to the culling will put himself in a terrible position as exhaust comes down. In comes Tarzan with the stun, the Mega Inferno Bomb and the Solar Flare misses, but Icon's just gifted a kill as in comes Tarzan. Tarzan does have the Stormbringer available, but it looks like SOFM jumping in does manage to clear out Icon. Iwandi surviving yet again with just a sliver of HP. This time will he survive from Huanfeng? No, he will not, as Huanfeng even using his Gale Force in as the splash damage coming out. Down goes the last outer tower on the side of Suning, and LNG utterly decimating. Iwandi was just too succulent, and Huanfeng had to go for him, using the ultimate, using the Gale Force into the members, trying to make sure that Iwandi went down at least this time. And LNG wins across the board. In the back tower, saying down the bot side, Bin, he was 0-3 going up against a 6-2 Ale, and he took the fight. That's what I respect about this man. Things are going bad, you need to try and make a play, you need to step up, you need to try and use your mechanics to bring yourself above the enemy's goal lead. And Bin tanks up a tower shot here as down goes the Spectral Maw, does land onto Bin using his ultimate, but immediately with the Blade of the Rune King actually just using the item against the owner, and all it was so close, but Ale ultimately outplays him with his own mechanics. Nice flash into the Spectral Maw. Meanwhile, in the top side on jumping in onto Icon, there's a very nice sidestep coming out there from Angel to dodge away from the Scatter the Weak, but the positioning he put himself in due to the culling ultimately is what led to his death. And then the rest of Suning just see an opportunity afterwards in a 3v2 situation, turn into a 4v2 by the way, as Huanfeng isn't in this position. Icon eventually goes down, and the 2 serial betas of LNG do end up falling in this situation. Huanfeng, his killer instinct actually putting him too far away, forcing him to have to use his Gale Force, and ultimately putting himself in a terrible position. Light didn't even have to bother about his own positioning throughout the entire fight. He just chucked the grenades in and out, and that's it. And Tarzan just jumped in, turned off towers, disabled them. I think that this Volibear might warrant a ban as well. Can you afford to throw 3 bans towards the side of the enemy jungler though, is the ultimate question. And I guess we'll have to see waiting for game 3 because I don't want to write off Suning now. But at 17-4 with nearly a 10,000 goal lead in favor of LNG, I don't think it's possible for Suning to come back in this situation as Tarzan looks like he wants to step forward aggressively yet again. But On and Angel are on the flank. The bot side of LNG could be a little bit in trouble here along with Tarzan as the flank comes in. Not really. On just going for the wave. Ale was there to cover them as he's now making his way towards the bottom side. Now a single tower has fallen on the side of LNG, which means they have such nice outposts. But with Bin pushing in this wave, that might soon fall as Rift Herald does get spawned towards the top side. Ale is being jumped onto in this mid lane by both Huanfeng Angel as well as SOFM, and he just gets absolutely cut down in the fight. But in the top side, Light with his Satchel Charge with the Rift Herald is just going to take the entirety of the base. But it looks like Suning are not channeling the recall. Only Huanfeng is backing at this point in time, and his back is cancelled. In comes the teleport now from Light as in the mid lane. SOFM is engaged onto by I1D and Tarzan still in the front line. Will have no means of escape. In comes the Mega Inferno Bomb using his E to get out of range, but ultimately he's got nothing left. He might try to jump in onto Light, but at this point in time, what is he going to do? As in comes the Zenith Blade to try and secure the kill. Light is able to hold his own, but meanwhile in the bot side, Bin is ultimately going to die for this. Nice discipline coming in from Light using his teleport while he could have sieged the inhibitor. Now Tarzan jumping in does have the stun available onto Bin, and Bin, you cannot win this, my friend. But Tarzan actually taken quite low, but in comes Light. Looks like another kill is going to be gifted over to the AD carry as he jumps in onto Light. Now the stopwatch is available, and it looks like there's a full-on Zonias as Tarzan flashes in onto Bin. Bin flashing away, not quite sure what for. Bit of a waste as the Spectral Maw eventually clotheslines him and finishes him off. I think that was definitely a bit of a waste there coming out from Bin, and just have accepted his death. There was nothing to buy time from. His team wasn't doing anything on the opposite side of the map. But back to what I was saying, I think Light, very good discipline there, using his teleport, opting to join the team fight instead of sieging down the remainder of Suning's base, as Ale was picked off here using his Heartbreaker, and right immediately after, Huanfeng just seeing an opportunity, and despite how they're just freely wailing onto him, Ale made a real good amount of distance, was just so tanky with the Divine Thunder and just the Sterox Gauge as well as his Plated Steel Greaves. Looks like Ale is, I mean, he's full bruiser build, but he's just so far ahead at this point in time that he's practically a tank in the eyes of the double AD carries coming out from Suning. And as though, and I mean, that's really just, that's the position we're in as Huanfeng. I'm not sure if he's clearing a ward there or he's trying to be sneaky, looking for an opportunity to assassinate Light here, I think. But unfortunately for him, Light is in the mid lane, and the only squishy person aside from that is Icon, who very well could annihilate you with the Scattered Weak as well as the power overwhelming. But Icon is making his way up, will walk across a blue trinket, signaling to Huanfeng that he is here, but Tarzan is here as well. SOFM moving up as is on. Teleports are available from both top laners, which means that basically LNG have the immediate advantage. Now Huanfeng, is he going to try and sneak away? It looks like he will. He does have a flank position down now onto Icon. Tarzan is in the area as well. I1D is here up as well. Light is in the mid lane as a Xenoblade lands onto SOFM, onto Angels. In comes Mega Inferno Bomb. Icon's picked up between 3 people, is immediately assassinated. His team abandoned him trying to get onto Angel, but in comes teleport from Ale, cut off other members of Suning as SOFM now is left to dry. He's most definitely going to go down to Ale. Huanfeng has found himself in a retreat and escape down to his bot side, and overall a 1-for-1 jungler for mid laner as now LNG are turning towards the Baron. They need to rush this down fast as Bin is down towards the bot side, does have teleport available, will be sieging down the tier 2 tower. Icon will be up in 15 seconds, so we'll be able to at least defend the inhibitor. But looks like the members of Suning are just going to give up this Baron as they're opting to push down mid lane, trying to get as much gold consolidated as possible in this brief window of opportunity. They have LNG are trying to rush this Baron down, but the damage is not that great with the Ziggs, although the Viego is in the area. So Suning altogether get about three towers from that, which I mean is pretty good because the bot side tower gives you about 600 gold at this point in time. Dragon is spawning now in about 35 seconds time. Ali is up towards the top side, will not have teleport to join this, which means Suning might have a mana advantage if Ali doesn't start moving quickly. However, Ali is also applying pressure to the opposite side of the map. Someone needs to stop him, as looks like Suning is pinging up towards the top side. They want to try and take the upper towers and give Dragon up, but the wave is too far gone. I think LNG are going to be able to take Dragon and defend their top towers. But I like what Suning was doing there. So by doing that, they kind of get themselves a little bit back into the game, because of course towers give you gold while Baron gives you potential gold. But LNG with the Ziggs and being so much stronger than Suning, they can just group up in one lane and just rush it down, and they do need to do that quickly. Sorry, LNG can do that, and they do need to do it quickly as Suning are trying their best to pressure as much of the map as possible on is shadowing Huanfeng up in the top side. But immediately LNG 4 members strong are running down mid lane. Bot wave is also being pushed as LNG are playing through 2 lanes, looking at Dragon as an exit objective. Not interested at all in it at this point. They need to apply pressure as much as possible. Huanfeng still up towards the top side. LNG are playing a little bit carefully because they have no idea where SOFM is. They have no idea where On is. But regardless, they're going to jump in onto the tower and the central charge is down. Down goes the inhibitor tower. SOFM is proxying the wave, means that LNG will not be able to end at the very least. But LNG are just going to rotate through towards bot side. Tarzan running through the inhibitor towers. In fact, Ali putting himself in a bit of a precarious position as possible as they will take the bot lane tier 2. Huanfeng forced to recall, as is SOFM, because they know that LNG have a wave to play through towards bot side. This could be the end of the game. They might have to just hold their ground, stand their ground, and look for a fight. As Ale could be picked off now, is being jumped onto by Huanfeng, but the Catherine Rain doing negligible amounts of damage, on taking tons of damage from a Scatter the Weak Ball, burning away from the Leandris. In comes the Mega Inferno Bomb. Nice with Rocket Bell coming out from SOFM, getting him away from the Flash Zenith Blade of Iwandi. And LNG can continue the assault. They do have 2 waves of inhibitor minions as SOFM. Beautiful side steps coming out. Eventually does get tagged out by the Scatter the Weak, unfortunately, as the Satchel Charge chucks him back towards his base. LNG looks like they're going to play through 3 lanes if possible, because the inhibitor, of course, is naked. And looks like LNG with 3 Nexus inhibitors down. Down comes the stun. Angel chunked to half HP on jumping in a very desperate attempt to try and make something happen. His Icon's hit up by the culling. Angel needs to be careful of his positioning as Ali jumps in onto him with the Spectrum Wall, uses the Heartbreaker, does pick him up, and On is in the mid lane. Ali jumping out of his form, able to just sustain himself up as On gets put into the passive. Right now, SOFM looks like the target as Ali's just gonna get lifesteal off of him. Full HP as Huanfeng jumps in, trying his best to assassinate Iwandi. Flashes into the middle of the team as Deja Vu. Iwandi falls, but so does the rest of Suning, as Bin can do nothing but flash and teleport in, I suppose. But looks like his KDA of 0-5 and 2 is enough for him to want to preserve, as LNG take a very convincing game 2 over Suning. It was a one-sided slaughter, to say the least, and right now Suning must be reeling internally. What can they do? They need to play more towards the early game. That is key. That is so important. But let's see if they are able to make the adjustments for game 3. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys for tomorrow's video. See ya!